I just want to introduce the next speaker. If I understand correctly, it's going to be Linda, speaking on behalf of the group End Poverty in Edinburgh. End Poverty in Edinburgh is a group of citizens that was set up in Edinburgh by the Poverty Alliance. I have to disclose I'm also part of this group, but I'm not here on this capacity here today. And the aim of the group is to end poverty in Edinburgh, as the name says it, and it's a group of citizens that, whether they have experienced poverty, or they have worked with people that experience poverty, and is to have a voice and to have that experience in the room as well. So we invited some people from the group to speak from the perspective of unpaid carers. That I think is a voice that should be heard as well when we are talking about the National Care Service and what that it means, this National Care Service, or what it would mean to unpaid carers. So I would ask Linda to speak for us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Great introduction, as always. My name is Linda Craik, and I am an unpaid carer. I'm also a member of End Poverty Edinburgh, which is a group of 10, 12 normal citizens, no specific qualifications apart from lived experience or knowledge of poverty and the impact that can have on everyone's life. Our aim is to raise awareness and to hold the city and those with power to account by sharing our lived experiences. But back to me. Let's say I am an unpaid carer. For the last 7 years, I have been carer for my brother, who has a variety of physical and mental disabilities. And also for the last 2 years, I have been carer for my father, who has vascular dementia and Alzheimer's. I've never asked for help until last year, where it was just all becoming a bit too much. Firstly, sorry, before I say that, I'd like to say that none of what I'm going to say is apportioning blame to individuals, because the individuals within each of the organisations are not to blame. The fault is underfunding, lacking recognition of the role which is carried out by those who are employed in the social care sector. And there's also a lack of recognition of the impact of underfunding and what that has on individuals and their families. Let's say my personal experience, I am a full-time, I call it unemployed, unpaid carer. After 7 years, I did ask for a social care assessment last April. Nothing happened. They sent me a form saying, yeah, we'll get an assessment done. In November last year, sort of 6 months after I'd asked for an assessment for just a little bit of help, I phoned them. My paperwork had been lost or mislaid. I chased them again in January of this year, and apparently I'm in a queue, but they do have a backlog. Now, it took me 7 years to ask for help. I felt guilty asking for help because I felt that was a reflection on me, that I wasn't coping. I am now getting to the stage of complete mental and physical exhaustion. In an entire week, I have 45 minutes in my entire week when I am not carrying out caring duties for one party or the other. Can't do a lot in 45 minutes. Usually I spend it preparing for End Poverty Edinburgh meetings. But I still think myself lucky because I'm able to get out and about. I'm just one small example of many, many people who are asking for not a huge amount of help, just a little bit of help, but it would have a huge positive impact on them, or in my case, on me, and those I care for, both mental and physical. If we keep going the way we're going with the social care backlog and understaffing and undervalued, etc., it's going to cause major, major problems for the NHS, etc., because we're all going to end up needing more medical help. It sounds a bit dramatic, but it's not really. This sounds like a pity party, and it's not meant to be. I also 5 years ago was diagnosed with lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder. That made COVID very difficult, being carer to two people and trying to stay away from everyone myself. For the last year, my lupus has got worse, more and more flare-ups. Even attending hospital appointments, I had 3 last week, and my sister had to travel from Norfolk to be here to take on my caring responsibilities so that I could attend those 3 appointments. There's no one to help. Nobody's listening. And I'll keep plodding on, but some people aren't able to do that. I think it's an understatement saying social care is in crisis. It's way beyond that, way, way beyond that. And I think you really, there are many people in employment who are carers. There are those like myself who, because it's a 24-hour-a-day job, are not able. And you are judged for that, which stops you asking for help. And so the hamster wheel, as I call it, begins. Getting financial help is a nightmare. I'll do without the financial help if someone could just come and give me an hour. But yes, I agree with everything Elizabeth and Josie has said. I could relate so much to it. But I think the problem's even bigger than any of us imagined, because there are many people like myself, unless they were at this sort of meeting, would not admit that they're not coping until it's far too late. Thank you all for listening today.
Thank you very much, Linda, for your powerful statement. I kind of knew the story, of course, but I think it's important that people hear to this kind of reality, how that impacts on people that are waiting on some help. I will ask to speak briefly. Another member of Edinburgh End Poverty in Edinburgh is Caroline, that is also going to speak about her experience on seeing someone he loves depending on relying on care. So if I can ask you to be kind of 2 minutes so we can get to the next speaker, that would be great. Thank you.
Hi, as Carmen said, I'm Caroline and I'm a member of End Poverty Edinburgh. I'm going to tell you about my dad. Now, my dad was a disabled man. He was born with a genetic condition that caused many, many health issues. And in 2017, after his latest 3-month stint in hospital, finally managed to get a care agreement in place where he got 1 hour a day. Less than 2 years later, it was Friday, April 12th of 2019, my dad called me, and after speaking to him, I found out that he was passing blood. Now, bearing in mind, my dad was on warfarin, so anything that involves blood is not good. He went to the doctors, they said he had a UTI, gave him antibiotics and sent him away. On the Monday, which was the 15th of April, the police had to force entry into my dad's flat based on the fact that the carer who had arrived that morning couldn't get my dad to respond. He was taken down to the hospital, which was in Aberdeen because he lived in Fraserburgh, and he died the following day. Turned out he had septic pneumonia, and the passing of blood was because his kidneys were shutting down, not because he had a UTI. Now, if that carer hadn't have been there, my dad would have died alone in horrible conditions. As it was, he got to the hospital, he got cleaned up, he was warm, he was dry. My sisters and I got to be with him. But the caring experience that he had was so mixed, because clearly no one had been in to see him over the weekend, because if they had, they would have realised something was desperately wrong with him. And if they had been in, maybe he wouldn't have died when he did. But nobody was there. Now, my dad lived in the countryside. Most of the people that came to see him would have to drive 20 to 30 minutes to the next appointment, unpaid. And oftentimes this was also considered their break. Now, some of the carers were lovely. They went above and beyond and helped my dad, and some of them didn't. And I think the reason they didn't was because they had incentive to. It was just a job that they had to do before they could get on to the next patient. Many of them didn't spend the full hour with him. Some of them, in fact, would write that they'd been there the day before when no one had actually turned up. And I can't blame them for that, because the care system is completely broken. How are they supposed to deal with going 30, 40 minutes traveling between each appointment? I can't be the only one that lost a loved one who possibly wouldn't have lost a loved one if the care system had been working as it should have been. He desperately needed more than an hour a day, but that was what he was offered. And even in the end, he didn't get that. How many people have died? How many people will continue to die if this crisis in care isn't properly dealt with? Because it's just getting worse. And this was before COVID. And I cannot imagine what it is like now. So that's my story. It's not happy, but it's an example of what is happening across the country. Something desperately needs to be done. Thank you.